Hello and welcome to On the Mic, a Zoomcast that spotlights students, services, and staff of Highlands Community Charter and Technical Schools. Highlands offers adults 22 years of age and older the opportunity to earn their high school diploma, learn English as a second language, and learn a skill. My name is Mike Roessler, and today we're joined by none other than Isabel Amezcua. Isabel, how are you?
Good. How are you, Mike?
Good, darn good. It's great to have you on the mic today. It's you and I go way back from my Taco Bell days, and it's been such a great employee acquisition that we had when we convinced you to come over from Taco Bell to Highlands. Tell us that story real quick. I know we talk about it a lot, but just tell that story once again.
Yeah, so I worked at Taco Bell. Was actually my first job. I worked there when I turned about 16 and a half. It was my very first job, like I said. And my parents were a little skeptical about me actually getting my first job. And when I first got my job there, I said, I got the job. And they didn't believe me. Like my whole family doubted me. They were like, you did not get a job. You're not going to be able to keep that job if you did. And so I proved them wrong. I worked there for about 4.5 years. And it was probably one of the best experiences that I had. I got to meet really great people. And from there, I actually got to meet you. And, you were a usual customer. You would come in almost every day, Monday through Friday during lunchtime. So during that time, there was a rush. There's a lot going on. The good thing about it is that there's usual customers that come in. And so we started we kind of get already the hang of what they're going to order because we recognize their voice, the person that is on the drive-through. And it's usually the person that's on during lunchtime is a person that's there full time, Monday through Friday, or whatever the days are from the week. And so I got to know you a little bit more, I think for about 8 to 10 months, I would say. We got to say, hey, how are you? Welcome to Taco Bell. What can I get for you today? And so you would always get a burrito, beef burrito. I think you would say no onion if I still remember correctly. Large kickstart light ice, and sometimes some chips and cheese, depending on the day. And so as soon as I would hear your voice, I look at the camera, I'm like, yep, that's Mike. Hey, would you like your order? I would finish off your order. And it was a really great experience to just get to see everyone. And one time you came in and I seen you in person, I was like, wow, he's tall. And then a couple weeks later, you came by and said, hey, where's Isabel? I think Caitlin now that works with us as well, said, oh yeah, she was on the drive-thru. She's like, she's here. And then you handed off, you were like, here. Here's my business card. If you want a job, call me, if you're interested. There was a lot of thoughts in my head. I was like, okay, there's a rush going on. Mike has just offered me a job. I don't know where he works. I don't know what he does. I just know him as a customer. And so it was a really surreal moment for me. But when I got home, I shared it with my sister actually. And I said, hey, this customer gave me a business card and it's for a school. It's in Del Paso Heights, which I went to Grand High School for a couple of years. And I'm like, I think it's across the street. It's on Grand Avenue. I don't know what the school is about. And so I gave him a call. I gave you a call. And you called me back around 5 o'clock and you said, hey, if you want to come by to get to know the school, what we do, we're looking for someone to work in our office. And so I came by, I loved it. I honestly could not believe what we had here. We had older students like my parents that were in class. And it was really, I think it was kind of a moment where I was able to reflect my life to Highlands and say, this could be my parents. And so I always push my parents to do better. And I was really happy to see it. And as soon as I got that offer, I said, I'm going to do it. I know that it might be a change because it's my second job ever. And I don't know if I'm going to do good, but I was really happy to be here. And I'm really glad that I made the choice. So.
Well, listen, I can speak for a lot of us at Highlands. You have grown so much from when you came over from Taco Bell to where you are now. Your responsibilities have grown. Your leadership has grown. Again, that's what a great find. And I talk to our students about you when we used to do orientation in person, and you would come in, and I would mention to the students that were just starting at Highlands, I would mention that you never know who's watching. And you and I have talked about this. You never know who's watching you, so you have to be really good all the time. And how so true is that statement, because you didn't know. I mean, you had other customers that you knew of. I just happened to see something in you. And for anybody that looks and that goes into a drive-through situation at any of these fast food places, the person who is usually at the window and with the headset on is usually the one with the most responsibilities, because they're doing 2 or 3 or 4 different things at one time. So I have a little bit of background in that, and so I thought, man, she is handling her business, not only getting the food from the kitchen and communicating with the kitchen, but also communicating with customers, and then taking money. And so I just thought it was worth a shot for me to hand my business card up. And boy, almost 5 years later, right?
Yeah.
Almost 5 years later, it has worked out tremendously. Now, Isabel, you mentioned about school. Tell us about your path through high school.
So I started at Grant High School. I transferred from Smythe Academy Middle School, and I went over to Grant. One of the reasons, obviously, where I was attending Grant is because I lived around the area. And so the other thing as well is, like, most of my friends were going to Grant High School because kind of went through school with the same people. And so for me, going to Grant was like, hey, that's where I'm going to be with all my friends. It's going to be fun. I was usually a pretty good student. And then when I got to Grant, it's a high school and you have different experiences. You have more classes and you're exposed to a lot more, and different people, different students from different, areas. And so I decided to make not the best choices my freshman year. I think I earned maybe like 5 credits during that whole year. And then I went into my sophomore year, and Lorena, my sister, actually got homeschooled during that time because we were in high school together. And so she got homeschooled for a little bit from other things going on. But I decided to just take advantage of the fact that my older sister wasn't there. And I just had fun. I thought ditching was cool. I thought going out to hanging out with my friends during school was fun. And I would make all these excuses about, I don't like my teacher. My teacher's not the best and they don't support me in class. And that was all the excuses I would give my parents. But then thankfully, when my sister found out, because I was hanging out with her older friends, they kind of told her, and she stitched me out a little bit, which was a really good thing. And I'm really grateful for that she did. She was looking out for me, and she told my parents that I wasn't doing good in school. And I think the drawback was that my parents didn't really know English, or they weren't able to really communicate with my teachers and with the academic staff of the school. And so when they found out from my sister, they were like, okay, like, we need to intervene, like, we need to go to school and see what's going on. And when they found out the amount of credits I had, I think I had like maybe 20 total my sophomore year, my first semester sophomore year. And I was doing really bad. So they were like, she's not going to be able to graduate on time. She's probably going to have to go to continuation school. It was probably like the worst thing that could have happened, because I was like, no, I'm going to be away from my friends. I'm not going to get to see my friends. And so I tried to tell my mom that I wasn't going to do my work if she got me homeschooled. And she said, I don't care. We're going to get you homeschooled. And I did. I went to Kima for the remaining of my sophomore year, which was the last. It was like from November to December. And I didn't have the best experience there. And so my dad actually heard from a friend that he's like, hey, actually my kid's going to a school called CCCS. It's at the Robertson Center and it's nearby your house. I think it would be a really good option for them. They're able to go, a couple days out of the week, meet with their teacher. They have tutors and other things going on. So I think it would be really like a good experience for her. And so my dad told my mom, they transferred me over. And I ended up graduating from there, kind of just went fast forward. And I ended up finishing all my my requirements to graduate a semester before. So it was a good experience. I think it taught me a lot. I was able to get my job during that time, and I was working, doing school. And I mean, from there, it was just a blast.
Well, listen, your story reminds me of some of the stories that I've heard from our students who chose a different path in high school and maybe was going to high school not for the right reasons, or not for the primary reason of education and earning that high school diploma. And so listen, you can certainly relate to a lot of our both of our students, right? Your parents are non-English speakers. You as it relates to high school, didn't have a great experience. You were doing what many teenagers do, and that you were telling your parents maybe a slightly different story than the truth. And so you got to Highlands 4.5 years ago. What's your experience been like at Highlands?
I think it's been a lot of different I think I've definitely been exposed to a lot that I have not been exposed to before. It's been a great learning experience overall. I started as an office assistant, and I oversee administrative assistants, which is a little bit like office assistants, and we oversee the student records department, which is really cool for the school, for our schools. And so it hasn't been, I think it's probably such a great blessing that I've had being able to have the opportunity to work with everyone here, and specifically our students. I wouldn't be, I don't know, I feel like this is my dream job, honestly. If I'm like completely honest, I don't think I knew exactly what I wanted to do as a career. And when I came here, I'm like, this helped me figure out what I want to do. So I'm definitely happy. I love my job. I love the students, and working with staff here is an experience sometimes. It's really great.
Yeah, and you know, we talk about a job and then we talk about a career. You came over because you accepted a job as a Spanish-speaking front office person. You know, really the kind of the face of Highlands when they walked in for the Spanish speakers, and now it's turned into a career in education for you, and that's again a great example for our students. The path that you took to get to Highlands. You were busting your butt at Taco Bell. You took pride in your job at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And now you take great pride in your career that you have at Highlands. I want to hit on a little bit of your family, because I just love the family dynamics that you have. Tell us about your family and where you live and how close you all are.
So I get to, and I'm going to say that I get to live with my parents still, because I know that there's a lot of expectations about being an adult and having your own home and moving on and having a family. But I'm lucky enough to still live with my parents, and live with my sister and her husband. And then I have a brother, I'm the youngest. So I have my brother, he's 31, I believe. And then I have my sister that's 27 right now. And then I'm the youngest one, 25. I just turned 25. I was going to say 24. And so being the youngest, I got to experience different things, because my brother was something similar to me within school and education. And then my sister was a whole complete opposite. And so I had to I was the youngest, so I got to learn from their mistakes. And then I made my mistakes of my own. So it was kind of a good thing to be the youngest one, because then now I know their experiences and how I should live like moving forward. They've been really both great examples, my parents as well. They always taught me to be a hard worker, be humble, and always, be kind to other people, regardless of the way that they treat you. And so, you have to bust your butt to make sure that you're able to get what you want, and don't expect anything to be handed to you. And so that's kind of how I was raised growing up, as well as my siblings. And I definitely feel like I've basically done this overall. And I think I'm lucky enough to be able to have the parents that I do, even though they had a lot of barriers in their life when we were growing up. We first lived in Corcoran, California, when they first came here to the United States. And then from there, I was still young. I was probably like a year or 2 years old when we moved over here to Sacramento. And I think even till this day, my parents say that was probably the best decision that they could have ever made, so that we can have more opportunity for us and school and education in our career as well. Because Corcoran is a smaller town. It's a really nice town, but it's smaller. And then here in Sacramento, obviously, it's a bigger city, and you get to do a lot more things. So not to say too much of my family, but I think I'm really proud of the family that I have and I get.
Well, you can tell because you can see the smile on your face when you're talking about your parents, and I know I think it's cool that close-knit family that you have, and that you all get to live together, and really share in some responsibilities that you have with your parents. And we get to the point where they take care of us, and then at some point we start taking care of our parents, right? And I know that you and Lorena are doing that with your dad at times whenever he needs any kind of assistance, and which I think is the coolest thing ever. You and Lorena are unbelievably close, very similar to my brother and I so I think that's very cool. And so listen, Isabel, we could talk forever. And it's always great to hear your story and hear how successful that you have been, and I hope that some of our students can take your story and really look at themselves and say it's possible to do some things, even though you may have hit some roadblocks along the way. And we know our students have hit some roadblocks along the way. Highlands, the school, gives our students an opportunity for them to hurdle those roadblocks and get to where they want to go. And then Highlands, the employer, has certainly given you an opportunity to shine. So we appreciate you. I thank you for being on the mic, Isabel, and you have a fantastic day.
Thank you, Mike.